to the Writer's Corner live show. Here on the show, we connect authors to each other and we help readers find new authors to love. You will meet seasoned as well as new and aspiring authors. We invite you to join us as we share the backstory of our author today, who is Yvette Bodden. Her book is called Journey to Finding Best Self, and she will also talk about her journey with awakened women. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Yvette Bodden. Welcome back, everyone. If you just joined us, welcome to the Writer's Corner live show. I'm your host, Brigitte Limbanda. I'm a Global Goodwill Ambassador, and I'm also a live streaming advocate, and I love to help brands, entrepreneurs, authors, nonprofits, and authors tell their stories and have a great online experience. My co-host is Mary Elizabeth Jackson. Mary is an award-winning author of the Poolicious children's book series, and she's also busy with a movie playwright at the moment. She's a mom and the mother of three beautiful inspirations. She's also a disabilities advocate, and she lives in Nashville in the USA, and I am right down in Cape Town in South Africa. So please do tell us in the comments where in the world you are joining us from, because we would love to know and acknowledge you. So welcome to the show, Mary.
Hey, thanks for that great introduction. And I've got another book coming out in about 6 weeks. I'll find out tomorrow the release date, so I'm super excited about it. And we have where I live in a couple of weeks, we have a gala that I'm on a committee to help with, and we have celebrities coming in, and it's raising awareness and funds for foster children, orphans, and veterans. So it's got a really great cause behind it and purpose. I'm really excited about that. But when you say let's rock it out, you are not kidding. That music is awesome with our video. I feel like I'm a teenager all over again.
I know, got to spruce it up, right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're never too old for anything, are we? So, but I'm excited about Yvette. Sometimes there's that opportunity to really get to know new authors and be able to have conversations with them outside of the show to get to know them more personally. And so I was able to do that, have that opportunity with her. And she's just, I don't know, she wants me to call her adorable, but I think I love her. I think she's a great, amazing woman. And I'm excited for her to be on today and be able to share her new book and her journey and, what she's doing, because she has a mission like we all do. And, she's taking her life experiences and helping others with, learning from and sharing what's happened to her in her life to be able to inspire, motivate women. And, we need that in this world so much, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. So Yvette is a freelance writer. She is the founder and the sole blogger of Awakened Women. Her articles and essays can be found at awakenedwomen.com. And what we want to know more about also is her recently released book called Journey to Finding the Best Self. Yvette has been writing for a couple of years with contributions in Thrive Global Digital Magazine, SmartCoparent, and DivorceHub.com. She writes compelling articles about women in life, love, Latino culture, divorce, co-parenting, motherhood, abuse. Dating and relationships demonstrate compassion and understanding for people and real life situations. So she is a great all-rounder, and she says that she writes from personal experience, and this shines through in the way that she writes. So she has got great compassion for women, and her purpose is to share stories about other women and engage women. So she's kind of fits very well into what we do, which is sharing stories about other people. Shall we
Mhm.
invite her onto the show?
Absolutely.
Let's do that. Yvette, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brichetti. Hi, Mary Elizabeth. How are you?
Hi, we're great. How are you? We're so excited you're here today.
I am too. Thank you so much for having me. This really means a lot. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. So your book just released recently, didn't it?
July 4th. Yes.
Yay. What a
Yeah.
patriotic, what a great day to independence. Look at you. What a great day, right?
Miss Independent.
Yeah, right. It's poetic.
So, Yvette, let's dive right into your story. You said that your book was born out of your journey with awakened women. Explain to us what awakened women is all about and how that fits into your book, which you've just released.
So basically, I was married for 10 years and had a beautiful daughter. And I sort of sleepwalked through part of my adulthood, not all of it, obviously. Um, I dedicated all my time and my energy, as so many of us do, to being a mom and playing the wife. And, I of course, I worked a 9 to 5. So I had all these roles. And in the mix of all of that, I forgot who I was. I sort of had all these identities, and I forgot what I liked, what I didn't like. And it's almost like it's sleepwalking a little
You
bit.
became numb.
Yes. um and I think when I came out of that, and that for me was my awakening, when the divorce happened and I had to find myself again and make that reconnection. It was, for me, it was what I call, or many of us that have gone through this, through a life changing event, it's an awakening. So that's why I started writing under Awakened Woman, because literally it's almost like a rebirth, if that makes any sense. Because
It totally
go ahead.
It totally makes sense because, I think almost all of us as a woman will go through that journey because, in the process of becoming a wife, and then often short on the heels of becoming a wife, you then become a mom, and you essentially lose who you are because you're trying to fulfill that role of now fitting into the life of a husband and his life and his family, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you somehow let go of your own identity in the process. And you can easily lose yourself and lose who you are. Whereas instead it should be an enhancing process, but you find yourself losing who you are for a couple of years because you're trying to make this huge massive adjustment. And then a kid comes along and now you're a mum. And the last thing on your mind is you're so
Mhm.
focused on husband, family, new family,
Well,
business, everything
survival.
else.
And survival, because you're in survival mode. Think about, back to when they're little. I was thinking about this morning, and it's like, so no sleep, and the feedings, and the constant crying, and trying to make somebody feel better and make them happy and have some peace and quiet, and then try to operate with almost no sleep and try to function with a foggy brain, and so you really do go into survival mode for a long time.
Yeah.
And so those, unfortunately, I think for the majority of us, those lines of boundaries in who we are as women get really blurred and murky and with everyone else's, so we do lose who we are.
Where it's sort of
um,
our identity becomes that mother and that wife. And
right.
that is not all there is to us, but that's who we become. So when
And it's a
you're
beautiful thing. It's beautiful to celebrate
absolutely,
that. It's a
I love
gift. Yeah, it's a gift, but we definitely do have to have something that's like us outside of that.
it. Exactly.
so we don't lose ourselves.
I think finding that balance it's so difficult, but it's something that we need to do. And I think obviously it gets easier as our children get older. When they're young, they need us for everything. But as they get older, it's really strange because now my daughter she turned 16 in February, and she needs me, but she needs me in different ways. And
Yeah.
it's
an adjustment.
It is an adjustment because
Yeah.
now I want the opposite. I want her to need me.
I know, it's so weird, isn't it? It's crazy. I know, because Brigitte and I have talked about this, and she feels, and her kids are older than yours or mine. And yes, and like I was dropping mine off at college crying, she doesn't need me anymore, but she does. It's just in a different way. It's just not the way I wish that she did, but it's how it is. And it's a constant reassessing of where we are in life, and it's like a push-pull, and we have to stretch those bands and stretch those bands and stretch them, and it really does take finesse.
I mean,
and
it's
resiliency.
Like recalibrating. You constantly have to. It's almost like when you tune up. Is it tune up?
Yeah.
I don't drive. Tune up a car. It's sort of that type of thing, depending on what's going on in your life or who you're taking care of at the time. You have to remember, oh, you know what? I have to take care of myself as well. Because if you ask me what is one of the most memorable parts of my life, I would absolutely hands down say being married and having a child, just having that wholeness, that sort of security and comfort. I absolutely loved it. But now, it being that I'm in a different place, it's not that I don't want those things. I want those things, and I want to also sort of maintain who I am. So it's constant juggling. You just have to reassess, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
So your book, how did you? I mean, there's so much in what we've talked about in just this few minutes. How did you manage to package that, or how have you packaged it in your book to make sense? Because that's what it is. It's trying to make sense of our journey.
For me, I started this whole idea of a book. I'm not, and I'm sure Mary Elizabeth will understand. I started writing later in life. I didn't go attend college to major in literature or anything like that. For me, it was, I remember when I got divorced, I went to the bookstore, self-help section.
Yeah.
I was looking for that magic book that was going to give me all the answers. And I couldn't find anything that I could connect with. So, there were books written by social workers or by women that I had nothing in common with. So I thought to myself, why don't I just write a book from the perspective of your everyday woman? And I started writing, and it was almost like I went into a frantic mode. I think I wrote the book in 10 or 11 months.
Wow.
And I wanted it to be sort of from the voice of a friend speaking to the reader, just a practical sort of guide to walk a woman, your everyday woman, through, the pain and the anger and sort of just the 5 stages, because those 5 stages of grief do apply to divorce. In a different way, obviously, but you're losing a marriage and you have to mourn the marriage and go through all the different emotions. I don't think without going through all those emotions, you can't heal.
So, that's a really good point that you just made. And it actually should be a quote, because you really do have to. It's like, they say with babies, so they're supposed to sit and then crawl and then walk. And so for children who don't actually crawl like they're supposed to, they're sometimes, a lot of times, have issues with the brain, because that crawling does something for the brain.
Oh,
so it's very interesting. Yes, because I have several friends they've had to have the kids go back and actually, even older, like 4 and 5, actually crawl to correct and help some of that. So it's really interesting. You do have to mourn and grieve and do all those things. And I think it's great that you were able to do it, and like it didn't take you for years to come up with all of this.
Well, I have to tell you, it took years to get through that pain. So,
Yeah. Oh, I bet. No, I'm sorry. Yes, absolutely.
no.
But to write it, you were ready. It was ready to come out and be
Yeah,
in there. And so it's really great that you have taken that perspective, almost like sitting around, in a kitchen having coffee and talking about stuff.
that's what I envisioned when I wrote it.
Yvette, so we've all got this stuff in our heads about, our journeys and what's happened to us and etc. But what was it that made you want to become an author, to want to write about your journey? Because not all of us get to that point. So I always like to find it from people. What was it? What was the catalyst for you that made you feel my story is important enough and I need to share it?
That's a very good question. There were moments throughout the process when I thought to myself, who wants to hear this story? I'm just another woman that got divorced. But I think when you're going through the process, no matter how much support you have, you feel like you're alone in your pain. It doesn't, it's not, people say, oh, you'll get over it. This too shall pass. I remember all the quotes that I read and I heard, but it was just sort of spreading that message to other women that might feel the way I did in that time. You're not alone. I have been through it. And I think by sharing my story, it will absolutely help someone else. I
Oh,
truly believe
absolutely.
that. And that was my main reasoning for just putting it out there. It's not easy to put your personal life out there. But I think it's important enough to share so other women feel empowered and get inspired and say, you know what? She's no different than I am. She takes the bus to work or the train to work, and she has a 9 to 5, and she has a child. And I'm truly blessed because my ex-husband and I, we co-parent successfully, and he's a good father and he's a great person. We just weren't the right fit. I grew in a different direction. Um, but there's so many other couples that go through it, and women need to know that they're not alone, that it happens to millions of us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so, do you have plans to do a second book?
I am halfway through my second book.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
That book
That's,
has a different voice.
I was going to say, what is that one going to be about?
Well, it's about a woman who has sort of goes through this her own journey of different loves, and through each of those relationships she learns a different lesson. um, and she literally goes through abuse, and she goes through um, just sort of different, each relationship takes her through to a different part of her journey as a woman.
Okay.
So it's a lot more. I have sort of a raw style, but this is more. It's not that it's romantic, but it's written in a. It's still witty and it's still fresh, but it's more fun.
So, Yvette, talk us a little bit through your journey of becoming a published author for people who want to write or who've just started to write, getting to the publishing part of their, because writing is one process, but getting published is quite another. How did you decide on getting published? Did you weigh up was it even a consideration for you to self-publish, or
Yeah.
did you just decide to go published traditionally?
Well, I sort of read about the pros and cons of both self-publishing and traditional publishing. And self-publishing requires a budget, which I didn't really have. Um, so I went the route of traditional publishing, and it is it is a lot of work. And I believe one of the key things is that you truly have to believe in your book.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know that you're going to get a lot of rejections, and you're going to get a lot of, oh, this is not the right time, or this is not the right book for our, for our publisher. So you sort of have to get used to rejection, but you have to keep pushing and you have to believe that this has to be read by the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you don't believe in it, nobody else is going to believe in it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So I wrote, I mean, I don't know how many different publishers I reached out to. I wrote letters. I just emailed and, sent out copies. And I was just really persistent. I would not take no for an answer. It's funny. I, I can't remember the quote exactly, but it's something like you can get, 100 no's. All you need is one yes. And I
That's
think that goes for most things. So I
I,
sort of thought of it that way. All I need is one yes.
Yvette, you've just nailed it, because we ask this question of all our authors, and people need to know that the very first publisher you're going to reach out to is not going to say yes.
right.
You are going to have to gear up and understand that this is a process of many no's, and you're going to need to be persistent until you get that one yes. So if you get a no, if you get rejection after rejection after rejection, do not allow that to put you off. I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone watching us on the various platforms on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Twitter. And a special shout out to Hamad, who always watches us from YouTube. So a very good afternoon and welcome to Hamad. He's a young viewer, and he's
Yay.
watching the show on YouTube. So we want to welcome him. We want to welcome all our other young viewers as well. Hello to everyone on LinkedIn, Facebook, Periscope, and Twitter. So I want to know from you as well, Yvette, when is your best time to write? When do you feel inspired? Do you block off time to write, or do you go with the flow? How was your journey? Tell us a little bit about that.
I have to tell you, I write whenever I feel inspired. There's times I'm on the train and it's a 30-minute train ride, or on the bus and that's a 45-minute ride. And I write if I feel that I have something sort of, in my head that I need to get out. There are moments when I'm in bed at 2 in the morning and I have a thought and I literally grab my phone and just make a note.
Yeah.
So, because if not, I don't know about you, but I lose it. It's
Oh
just,
yeah, it never comes back the same way. It's awful. And that's why, I tell people that, like, I always have a notebook on me, or I use my phone, or I actually use the audio recorder on here.
that's a great
So
idea.
I'm driving, blah, 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 blah. I know we're supposed to have both hands on the wheel, but I'm like, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait till the stop sign, because yeah, it's like, especially the poetic stuff. Cause I started out writing a lot of poetry. I did throughout my whole life. And so a lot of times that will flow. And it's happening to me a lot right now as my dad passed this summer. And so a lot of that's still processing. So it's like, all of a sudden something will come, this very deep thought. And I'm like, oh, I like that, but I have no way I'm driving. So I just put it on my phone real quick. So, because it's true, it's meant to come out the way it comes out.
Yeah.
And then from there you can alter it. But if you don't grasp it, it's like, it's gone. It's like a firefly. It's like, boom,
So Yvette, my next question to you is, who's been your inspiration on your journey as a writer? Because, there's always someone that kind of inspires you to just keep going, because you do have moments when you think, oh heck, I don't have the energy to do this, because life is busy, and there's so many things that pull at us as a mom. And so what is it that kept you pushing forward on your journey as a writer?
she's frozen.
Okay, Yvette, can you refresh your screen, because we've lost you? I'm sure that you can hear us. Just refresh your screen. I hope she can hear us.
Yeah, I will send her a message real quick.
I think she has. She's disappeared off the screen, so I'm sure she has. So
Okay,
just
good.
tell us, while we wait for it to come back, tell us quickly
Yes.
about your upcoming book.
Okay, so yeah, it's the third one in the Poolicious series. I'm so excited about it because this one is going into like ages 4 to 7. So we're going into elementary school, and there she is.
Yay!
Hi.
Yay! Well, go ahead. Okay, so did you hear Bridgetti's question?
No, I did not. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the question was, during our journeys as moms and wives and executives and whatever else hats we're wearing, we can feel overwhelmed at times and think, I really don't have time for this, or do I have the energy to be a writer as well. What was your inspiration? Who inspired you to just push through?
Oof. Who inspired me to push through? Um, that's a
Or
really
what inspired you to push through? If it's not who, what inspired you to push through and want to ensure that this book gets published?
Honestly, I'm inspired by other women. There are so many other women that have, 2 children and are going back to school. They have, I don't know, 2 children, 2 jobs, and they're, going out there to try new activities. I don't, I feel as long as I have health and I have um, all my 5 senses, I want to live to my full potential. I think my biggest fear is not doing that. I think you get one shot of light at life, and you can sleep when you pass.
That's what my friend Thornton says, because he and Brigetti knows Thornton, and he's the busiest guy I've ever met in my entire life. And he has, like all authors would like, he has got a book. He's just actually signed a contract for a major motion picture with his book. He's got the first check in the bank and everything, so it's all legit. And but he's always like, who has time for sleeping? And I mean, he will text me at like, hours that I'm like, I'm not awake yet.
I mean, I have to tell you, so I have the book, which I'm still trying to promote and, and get the reviews and get it sold. And then I'm working on the second book. I have a daughter. I'm in a relationship. I have a 9 to 5. And
you're busy. You're very busy.
And then recently, I had an opportunity, which I mentioned to you, Mary Elizabeth, to write for Be Latina magazine, which is an amazing platform for women. And it has tons of great articles. So I became a content writer for them. And now I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to sleep.
You better watch what you say.
But I have realized that if you just structure your time in a way where you have, that hour for yourself, and so if you just structure it the right way, you find time. You find time to do the things that you love. That's what I mean.
Right.
So that's a great tip right there, is to be super structured. Not inflexible. I want to,
right.
I think I want to add that. Don't be inflexible, but be super structured. Yvette, how can people connect with you, and where can they find your book?
My book is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Black Rose Writing, which is the publisher. People can always find out what I'm doing by going to awakened-woman.com, and I'm on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So everyone should come and visit and see what I'm up to.
Absolutely. Yep. There it is. There's your site right there. And, she and I discussed about, I think if we want to take just a couple of seconds to talk about marketing, because there is so much that goes into it. And when you do have a publisher, it doesn't mean that you don't sit and do nothing.
Right.
So, we discussed about different various ways to market, and, taking advantage of everything free that you can publicly is a great way to go. Your radio, a lot of times radio shows are free, TV shows are free. Getting into those libraries, and for what you're doing, you can look up women's, women's places where women will be gathering, to come in and talk, ask to be able to come in and talk and share your book and say, this is what I'm doing. And, Journey to Finding the Best Self. I mean, man, that's a great title.
Thank you. And it's actually Journeying to Becoming the Best Self.
Okay, sorry. That's right. It is. But both the titles are great, because we're becoming our best self, But I mean, I would even check into, Europe, where you're at. There's a lot of hotels, a lot of conventions that come in,
True. I actually haven't checked that out yet.
I would research that as well, because maybe you can get in to be a speaker. You could get maybe like, in a hotel on their list as speakers that, people like to listen to, and come in, and you have a very successful event, and then you can start charging more and more, which would be wonderful, in churches where ladies are, and anywhere where ladies meet that need help, and even young girls,
Yeah,
teenagers,
absolutely.
because they're going into that womanhood and they need help.
Absolutely. These are all avenues that I've started exploring, and then something comes up, and that's the other quick thing. One of the things that we have to do as authors is self-promote. So use the Twitter, use the Facebook, use, all of your social media, because it really is, it's essential for you to, start a following and have people know you. So that's one thing that I think is really important for new authors to realize, the importance of social media.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's a great note for us to end on. We want to say thank you very, very much for sharing
Thank
your
you.
story and your journey. And we want to encourage everyone to reach out to you, go and buy your book, and connect with you on social media.
Yeah.
So, a huge big thank you to everyone who's joined us live today on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Periscope. It was great having you with us.
Thank you so
And
much.
we ask you to please to share the show.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you
you.
so
Talk to you
much.
soon. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
everyone.